Hello, friends, and welcome to Artifact Adventure, the final episode. Spoilers, this is the end. When we last left off, we had collected the keys, and you know, I was kind of considering going back to town, healing up. Forget it. Let's just push on. No more fancy editing, this is it. Uncut, just for you. Open up all the doors. In the final area here, we bump into one last random encounter. And it's kind of fitting, if you think about it, that we get this last random encounter. Against this guy, the Believer. He's got a star next to his name, so you know he's like a champion version of this enemy. And you are going to be so surprised what happens here. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But in the meantime, I'd like to just point out the amount of damage we're doing. This is about what you expect to be doing at the end of the game. If you follow along, or if you're playing on your own, this is about the level you should be at to complete the adventure. And you can see one guy down, two are going to fall in the next round for sure. Like, what do you do in this situation? Not even the final boss here. But we managed to take him out. Lucky us. Not even a lot of experience from that. Kind of an odd last random encounter. The Believer's skin, I believe, was used for a boss, the Magician. But that guy's way tougher than the Magician was. So here we go. Two directions. I guess that's not the last random encounter. Maybe it is. Anyway, you've got a choice here to make. You go north or you go west. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, kind of wasn't expecting this. Up to the north, there's a guy in a robe. And yeah, that wasn't the last encounter. That was the last actual meaningful encounter, is how I should have phrased that. The last meaningful random encounter. The rest of them are cakewalk. So this guy in a robe, have you come to slay the Swamp King? And I say no, because at this point I'm thinking like maybe I can kill the Winged King or something. Now I'm not gonna, go into spoilers until we're finished here. But I'm not 100% sure I like the way this last zone was set up. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But here we got some more meaningless random encounters. You might notice our MP is hitting the bucket. We are running low. Throughout the entire game, I never found a single item to restore MP. I don't think there is one. So down here we have a monster. You're not allowed through here. Got a problem with that? I'm like, nah, man. I don't. And I'm thinking, which one of these guys do I upset? Like, which one do I want to piss off, basically? We have the Believer to the north, and we have the monster to the south. Now, the monster, I don't know if he's really a monster. He has the skin of a monster. But sometimes the sprites on the overworld are a little misleading. I decide, this guy looks like a monster, let's go this way. For our final, I guess you'd call this mini-boss. Although, he sure looks like a boss, let me tell you. Phantom Titan. Look at the sprite work, or the artwork I should say, on this guy. Look at that. Beautiful. I really like the usage of black and gray and white in monster designs. I think it adds like a really good element when you have this, I don't want to call it like a super high contrast, but this sort of designs choice, this artistic style. I love it. Absolutely love it. So let me just go ahead and recap for you here. We're in the last dungeon. I've already told you this is the final episode. It's going to be a little long one. It's going to be a little bit of a long one today. So my apologies for that. But you can't speed. You could, slam on the A button through the ending scenes, but why would you do that? Having come this far, why would you do that? So sit back, get yourself a cup of coffee. I actually went and picked up myself a little cup of coffee. Unfortunately, I finished it before starting to record, which is a shame. A real shame. Speaking of coffee, here in Taiwan, the coffee, they have coffee brewing appliances. You can buy one. But most of the coffee is brewed by using a coffee filter, holding it over the cup, and pouring the water through the filter. It's an interesting... We never had this. They're called like mobile coffee drip kits, basically. And, you open up a box with the coffee in it. Inside there's 8 bags. You tear open one of the bags, and there's a coffee filter. You remove the top, you set it over the cup, and it has these 2 little pieces of cardboard that hang over the edge so that you can pour it into the filter, and it drips through the filter to the bottom. And then after you, fill this filter like 4 times and let it drip through, you just take the filter, throw it away. Very interesting. Not very environmentally friendly, I would suspect, because it's a lot of waste. But it makes pretty good coffee. It makes pretty good coffee. As far as drip coffee is concerned, it's obviously not going to be something like a mocha or an espresso-based drink, but it's fine. Now here in the treasure room, I'm just kind of talking over what's going on. Here in the treasure room, you find one of each elixir. I mean, what else are they going to give you this late in the game? They're not even like, oh, hey, have some new sword that's better than the sword. I don't think so. It's pretty much just, you know, a bunch of treasure. And here we get, in the middle, the circlet. Now, in case anybody was wondering, this is the same piece of headgear that you can buy for 150,000 gold in the slavers' camp. That's right, I actually went back and did that off camera to see what that was that he would sell you. He sells you a circlet. Basically, it's an item that heals your HP by 1 for every step you take. And I show you here, we're going up by 1 for each step. Not that useful here at the final bout. So we have to talk to this guy. We have to tell him we're here to kill the Swamp King. There's no way to get around him. So I heal up thinking like, get ready for boss time. If you come to slay the Swamp King, I see, blah, blah, blah. Made up your mind, but please hear me out. To normal people, the Swamp King's castle and the surrounding area are poisonous, but to believers like us, the poison is part of what keeps us alive. Should the Swamp King die, these poisonous swamplands would be purified. So basically, he's gonna die. You gonna die, son. But all of his believers would perish in the purification. So the princess will die if we do this, because she's one of the believers too. Have you ever considered the nature of the quest you were sent on and the motives of your employer? I did, but I tried to go back and talk to him. We're in the middle of a prayer time. Please excuse me. So he won't stop you. He's like, pardon me, I'm coming through. He just tells you. Have you ever considered, you know, the other side of the coin? And I did. Remember in the last episode, I tried to go back to confront the king. But he will hear nothing of it. He just tells you you can keep the artifacts you find and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I'm not sure. At this point, I'm not sure. Now, I will tell you later, I actually went and read a little. So I'm pretty sure I know a little more than I did at this point. We'll talk about that during the end. Here's the Swamp King. He is indeed a king. He sits on a throne with a castle on his head and a king's sprite. You know this guy's royalty. Looks human. Looks human. Doesn't look like a monster at all. Let's confront him. It's changing form. Nothing so vile could possibly belong in this world. Wow, judgmental much? Jeez, you don't want to go try on dresses with this guy. Oh my god, nothing so vile deserves to be in the... It's terrible. And how dare I make light of such nasty remarks. Let's just sit back and enjoy this battle music, by the way. It's upbeat. Now I'll come out and say, you know, obviously, music's good, but I'm going to talk over it. This guy is not very difficult. The amount of damage he does per round is less than the Hell Beast. Less than that Believer that we fought. You know, the Believer was using 2 hit everybody for 150 damage each attacks. This guy's doing like, you know, he's doing junk tier. We didn't even go to the end. We've got almost no MP for this fight. You know, we're basically like on death's door coming into this fight. I'm like, we'll just try it out. We'll just, you know, give this boss a try. See what I'm gonna need to beat him. Turns out, he's not that tough. He's not that tough. Not that tough at all. And I'd like to just mention here at this point, if you're interested in seeing the no commentary version of the ending, the video is up. It should be uploaded at the same time as this one. And this is where that video starts. So if you just want to see the ending in peace and quiet, no discussion about it, no talking over it, go ahead and tune into that video instead. And I promise you're not missing anything. Because my commentary doesn't add a whole lot. No, I'm just being self-critical. So, the king's down. No experience, no gold. The castle is falling. And with that, the castle falls and the ending begins. This is one of the 70 possible endings. captured in the thunderous roar of the castle collapsing into ruin. Your own consciousness slowly wanes as you experience both time and space passing you by. The adventurers finally reached the town of Greenville. This was the beginning of the game. The adventurers chose not to obtain the artifact that supplies the healing spring from which Greenville's people make their living. Instead, they received the town's most prized treasure, the shimmering shield, as thanks. If they just give one of these out to everybody who doesn't take their relic. The villagers enjoyed year after year of prosperity, wealth, and fortune. So this tells you what happened in the town. The names of those brave adventurers were passed down for generations. Our story lives on. That was our first quest, our first choice. After, of course, choosing, which starting gift we get. The adventurers found the missing boy. This was also in that same city. This old man, you might remember him. The boy's father granted them an artifact as a reward for putting his mind at rest. We told him what happened to his son, that his son had died. And although it took a great many years, eventually the man got over his sorrow and moved on with his life. Good for him. He got some closure. Happy to see that. The adventurers braved many scary ruins to bring the witch doctor a cauldron. Remember, we got this cauldron from the ghost kid who wanted the healing water. The witch doctor set up a small hut in a quiet, relatively unknown town. So he actually left that village and went someplace else from the sound of it. Over time, the witch doctor's fame grew until he became known far and wide for his soul-calling magics. That's magic with a K, by the way. Never forget. The adventurers risked their lives to return the fortress key to the clumsy soldier. Now, he begged us not to tell his commander what had happened. And I chose not to tell the commander. But unfortunately, because the soldier was never reprimanded, his habit of losing things got worse. Oh, no! Because I kept his secret, he never learned his lesson. The fortress had suffered frequent losses of its valuables ever since. Look at this place! Like, how many keys did this guy lose? And are these monsters or are these ninjas? Because, let me tell you, they kind of look like ninjas. Attacked by ninjas. The treasure will only be granted to those who can withstand the pain. The adventurers ignored the rumors, and searched Wind's grave. You might remember I went here, and I didn't really like what happened. The treasure left behind by the legendary bandit Wind. It teaches us the importance of not being overconfident and knowing when to run. We ended up getting an artifact here. But by picking the artifact, we lost out on a second treasure. As if to punish you for allowing your greed to twist your perceptions so. As if to punish... that's a little bit of an awkwardly worded sentence. The group found the treasure, but by taking it, they robbed Wind's power of its source, erasing it from this world forevermore. So because we took the treasure, I guess we somehow... people lost sight of his... I don't know. The tale of the legendary bandit Wind. The adventurers revealed the proof of his existence only to the boy's father. Sort of. The father wanted his son to stop his daydreaming about Wind. You might remember this from the first town. Just as his father hoped, the young boy grew up into a hard-working young man. Hey, that's good! Congratulations, buddy! Every day he turned up for work promptly. Every evening he went home to sleep. And it's a little boring. I mean, he's probably got a hobby or something. I hope. Is that a success? That might be a success. I would consider that a success. Even on his day off, he simply went to work. He really had nothing else to do. Oh no, it's the story of all Japanese businessmen. The young boy, with his head full of dreams, had turned into a really boring adult. Hey man, that's life. I'm sorry to say, but you know what? That's a happy ending to me. The sort of dreary adult who does the same thing over and over. Game, you're making this sound so bad. That's probably like 85% of all people. The majestic, giant, blue birds. Remember, the merchant wanted us to kill the bird. Frustrated by their continued aggressiveness towards travelers, one merchant called for them to be cold. But the adventurers became protectors of the birds. Sort of. We basically just didn't kill that one bird. I mean, that doesn't really make us protectors. Thanks to their human protectors, the birds were slowly able to recover their numbers. Oh, look at that! We stopped the species from going extinct. Uh-oh. But a few years later, the bluebird population exploded and caused irreversible damage to the forest ecosystem. What? It was one bird! It was one bird! A single bird! You can't blame me for that. The adventurers managed to find the bottle of sap that the kids had carelessly dropped. You might remember this one. We used that to build a tunnel under the lake to get to the 2 treasures and the artifact. Now the kids could continue their search for beetle nests. That's, good for them! Yay! The subterranean air was mysteriously clear and full of new smells. Earth, wind, water, heart, go planet! To think, a world of such beauty lay just below the surface. You know, that is kind of a beautiful cave system with flowers and stuff. I mean, nature's beauty. The delivery of the strange package obtained in the secret base in Foreign. Remember, this was the guy who wanted the ore, and then there was the kind of the scam where the ore can sell for 2K, but he only gives you 1.5K. But the adventurers realized the men were no good and stood up to them. I thought they were fine middlemen. The bandits, they were bandits? The bandits were defeated and could not continue their illegal operations. Okay. Uh-oh. The underlings of the scoundrels were cast out into the streets. Who, throws people into the streets? They're like, oh, you're a bad guy. Out to the street with you. They eventually resorted to the only profession they knew how to do. They began stealing from the houses of Foreign. How come nobody stops these guys, these scoundrels? For many years afterwards, Foreign was known as the most dangerous and lawless land in the country. What? Just because I fought the one bandit? Oh, come on, that's a little bit, I don't know about that one. His dream was to forge a legendary sword. A sword that could harness the burning power of flames. That sounds like a pretty good sword to me. I remember this sword. The adventurers managed to find a flame spirit deep in the cave and bring it to the man. I remember this quite well. You take the gray sword, you touch the artifact, and you have a choice to either put it in the sword or to give the sword back to the guy without doing it. The sword he forged emitted a red glow from the blade. One could feel a faint warmth whilst wielding it. Would have been great in the ice caves. Truly a masterpiece, its intense beauty shall someday captivate another man. Oh, this sword sounds kind of cursed. Who shall not rest until he forges... Oh my gosh, this guy is going to keep making the swords. Good for him. That's a good ending. That's good. One moonlit night, the adventurers found a door to another world near the edge of a lake. That door led to a world filled with falsehoods. This was maybe my favorite quest in the game. By finding the truth hidden in that world of falsehoods, the adventurers obtained a hidden artifact. I remember that. The crazy mirror one. Should the artifact be removed, this world will be destroyed? But could that too have been a lie? What? Nobody said that would happen. An ever-changing world of lies. Perhaps it is waiting for someone else to brave its challenges. I don't think you had a choice. I think you had to take the artifact when you got there. There was no way out. A woman searching for her child. The adventurers took pity on her and agreed to help. This was the worst quest in the game. I hated this one so much. With the kidnappers and you couldn't beat up the boss. It was a terrible quest. Absolutely hated it. She asked them to go to the kidnappers' hideout as she was sure it was them who had stolen her son. I wanted to bring her back her son. I wanted to take her to the place and she could find her son. The adventurers, believing the woman deserved to know the truth about her child, told her they could not find him. We probably could have if she had come with us to point out which one was him. It's her kid. She should be able to look and tell. The mother was devastated. I was too. She was plunged into great despair. Me too. The adventurers decided to leave her to her thoughts. She better not commit suicide. I'm gonna wig out. But the woman did not let sorrow take over. Oh, it's a happy ending! Look at that! She found her son! She refused to accept defeat and instead swore to continue her search. Yeah, baby! That's good. I'm happy that ending. That ended up being the right choice, not bringing just some random kid for her. That's good to see. Cuomo, which now has a K and not a C. They spelled it differently here. All the people disappeared, the adventurers found. The missing people had all been summoned to a certain mansion. This was the one where everybody was cursed to sleep for all eternity. It turned out a sorcerer had used the power of the artifact to cast the people of the village into an eternal slumber. That's right, he was using the artifact to experiment on them. After defeating the sorcerer, the adventurers smashed the artifact, freeing the people from their sleep. Of course, the townspeople were overjoyed and thanked the adventurers profusely, with a capital P. Every year since, on the day the adventurers saved them, the townspeople hold the Awakening Festival, so they never forget what happened. Aww, we're legendary! The adventurers defeated the sealed hell beast. That's right, we helped those people twice. We saved them from that. But did they really need to defeat it? What are you saying, Dan? The question lingered many months after the hell beast's demise. I wasn't thinking that. It didn't linger. The cave, which had imprisoned the hell beast, was a success for gold mined. A gold mine? What? The villagers knew much of the veins of gold. They knew! I was tricked! The villagers had taken advantage of the adventurers' good fit. Those bastards. I should have never saved them from that sleeping curse. And happily reaped the rewards of the adventurers' strength. Those jerkbags. Oh, how dare they. But their joy only lasted until they ran into the child of the hell beast, who had been hiding in the darkest recesses of the cave. First off, there was no cave there. Second off, screw those guys. I hope that hell beast feasts on them. The adventurers decided to help the rather pushy inventor in Waggun. They delivered the requested glowstone. That's right, we didn't even have a choice to say yes or no. He's just like, you'll do it? Good. Oh, here it is. The inventor managed to create an explosive to blow through walls. So why did we need the drill? Is that mistranslated? Was the drill really a bomb? At first, it was difficult to produce the explosive in sufficient quantities. But after many years, there was a breakthrough, but then a certain devious general adopted the explosive. For use in the battlefield, his invention caused countless death. That's terrible. So it wasn't a drill, it was a bomb. The inventor was devastated. His creation had been used for evil. He devoted himself to the creation of peaceful things from then on. It's not too bad then. Good for him. And of course, generals always suck. They always betray us. A man's mission to dig a tunnel to observe a volcano had been stopped by a layer of particularly hard rock. I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry! They decided to help the man by lending him the tunneling tool an inventor had given them. Wait, did we? What? No, we gave it to the treasure guy. After a lot of hard work, the tunnel was finally completed. What? We didn't give it to that guy, we gave it to the other guy. Then the man realized. To reach the treasure, a sacrifice would be... I think the ending, it pulled from the wrong side of the quest. We chose to help this guy. We didn't help the volcano guy. So I think it might have just thrown a little extra wording in there that doesn't apply to our ending. The man turned around and for one last time met eyes with the adventurers who had made his dream possible. What? Oh, here we go. Deep in the caves of the solitary island, the adventurers spotted a golden staff. This is how I remember it going down. This is how I remember. Obtaining the treasure of the cave required teamwork, so the group teamed up with the man they met in the tunnels. We didn't really team up with him. We kind of had no choice. The adventurers followed the man's instructions. Unfortunately, he betrayed them and left them for dead in a trap. That scoundrel! But it's okay, because we found the island's true treasure. Fortunately, they found a hidden staircase out of the room, which led to them to the real treasure of the mysterious island. The Fool's Bangle, plus 10 to all stats, baby. Meanwhile, the devious man sold the golden staff, but without considering its real value. So there he is, he's selling it to that guy. Remember that guy? The man who bought it from him went to sell it for 10 times more money. Suck it, you crappy scoundrel. You got ripped off, brother. Good for him, by the way. Sucks to be him, so happy for us. Who's the real fool in this story? The gullible adventurers or the man with no eye for money? Perhaps it's both. You know, if we had just worked together, we could have had both the gold staff and the real treasure. I wonder if there's a way to get both. The tiny, tiny village of Iluta, devoid of famous food or attractions. One man, determined to put Iluta on the map, decided to invent a new meal involving 2 types of crab meat. We killed both the crab kings, remember this one? He asked the adventurers to find some for him. And we did a good job. And he paid a lot of money too. And gave us the katana. The adventurers located sufficient crab meat in the cave by the shore and brought it back to the budding chef. I'm sure this probably ends terrible for him. He immediately began working on his new dish. So, what do you think? His first prototype tasted incredible. Oh, everyone in the village agreed it was delicious. Finally, the tiny village had something to be proud of. I don't think the village needs something to be proud of. It should just be proud of itself. But that very night, every single person who had tried the crab dish suffered terrible stomach pains. Most of them were bedridden for 3 whole days. Oh, got the crab diarrhea. It turned out both types of meat were poisonous. It took some time, but eventually a way to remove the poison from the meat was invented. So obviously he didn't really do a lot of, testing of this food before just serving it to strangers. Tourists descended upon Iluta in the thousands. This whole world doesn't even have like 100 people. But the people of Iluta never forgave the man for poisoning them for those 3 days. Oh, get over it. You're trying a new dish. Get over it. Many of them, sick of the constant business of the town, wished he'd never even bothered in the first place. Oh no, this person's bringing so much money to our village. Oh, how woe is us. This village, these people suck. They're terrible people. Good on you, food inventor man. Whilst on their journey, adventurers came across a beast that had been locked in a cage. This was the beast that could tear apart villages. And we got the poison berry to put him down. According to local guards, the animal is both very rare and also incredibly dangerous, capable of destroying whole settlements. So we took care of it. The adventurers decided to help the soldier by obtaining for him a poison berry. Yes, well, they should have just given them some of that poison crab meat. The poison that the soldiers extracted from the berry was potent enough to kill the beast in a painless way. Wow, so he's like all about, putting him down painlessly and stuff too. But the fact the soldier had put down the beast quickly became common knowledge. He's a hero! Look at all these people! They're like, yeah! Lutenrek came under attack from nature protesters for many years? Oh, that's bullshit. This was a killer beast. In order to silence the critics, the town invested a huge amount of money into the national budget. What's that mean? Like they hired hit squads or something? What does that mean, the national budget? I don't get that. A man with a checkered past planned to break free from prison and start a new life with the girl he loved. That wasn't a prison. That was not a prison. That was not a prison. That was the slave camp. Not a prison. Not a jail. Not a prison. The adventurers risked life and limb to sneak into his house and find a pendant for him. That was not a prison. Those were slavers. He was a slave. After handing him the pendant, he told them that he was going to Iluta. The now free man and his new wife expressed their gratitude to the adventurers. That's right, he was a good man. The slavers captured him. The two of them lived happily ever after. Aww, forever and ever, from the look of it. The adventurers decided to lodge in an inn of a certain fishing village. When they awoke, they were in jail. This was also one of my least favorite quests. Thanks to the man trapped in the cell next to theirs, the adventurers were able to escape the village and never find out what happened here. What was with that village for many years? But a few months later, just off the coast of the village, a small island rose out of the sea. Say what? Like, is this like Atlanta or something? Shortly after that, the world was thrown into chaos. What does that even mean? Thrown into what? So is it like a portal to hell or something? I hated that quest. The Sarah and San clans trapped in a conflict for more than 100 years. Sarah holding the Holy Lands from their fortress, and Sen trying to claim it for their own. These are the two warring groups. We took the Apollo bow and left them to fight, not telling them of the secret path. The adventurers found a hidden route that could have led to victory for either side, but decided not to leak its whereabouts. If it really mattered, they could have just dug their own tunnel. I mean, it's not like, oh wow, this pre-made path could have... 100 years they've been fighting. They believed maintaining the equilibrium of battle was key to avoiding bloodshed. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true, but well, we'll see. Sen and Sarah. Yin and Yang. For more than 100 years after that, they remained locked in a stalemate. So this is like what? Judaism, Muslim type of parallel here over the Holy Lands. The war drained the two groups of their resources and slowly, blah, blah, blah. So, as you can see, we basically didn't help or hurt. The girl used power of an artifact to reanimate the dead. So, this was the one in the graveyard. We ended up not doing what Death wanted. Realizing things had gone awry, the girl asked the adventurers to put an end to the undead rising. This was the one with the 3 pots and the holy water and the 3 mini-bosses. By sprinkling holy water into 3 incense burners, the adventurers were able to stabilize the artifact. We did a pretty good job, in my humble opinion. We did not give her up to death, though. All the poor girl wanted to do was bring back her partner who had died trying to bring down the Swamp King. So that's what she was there for. She was trying to resurrect her partner, not everybody in the graveyard. But even with the artifact, bringing one back to life as they were before is not possible. So it's kind of like a monkey's paw scenario, where you wish for your lover to come back, and literally their dead corpse arises, and Ooh! The girl probably knew it was futile all along. Love will make you do some strange things. Love will make you do some strange, strange things. But she did it anyway. The heart wants what it wants. I agree. I liked how this one ended, but I'm sad that she couldn't bring back her lover. After the uprising was calm, the girl accepted her lover was not coming back and returned home. We kept the artifact, by the way. The artifact kept her alive, but we kept the artifact. That sword, its blade as white as driven snow, with a faint, chilling aura excluding from it. Frost blade. As the man sold the sword to the adventurers, his expression changed. The smile on his face disappeared. He wanted to upgrade the sword, if I remember right, but I couldn't find any flame ore. Making the frost blade alone was not enough for him. Hey, it's always good to push your limits. He wanted the adventurers to trust his weapon-making ability and allow him to enhance the frost blade. I wanted him to enhance it too. I just couldn't find the ore. I'm not sure if the ore was somewhere I didn't go or what. The adventurers ignored the swordsmith's dream. Now, I later found out you actually have to take the flame blade and the frost blade to him at the same time. Oh, if only I had known! If only I had known! Afterwards, the man set out on a quest to forge a sword even greater than the frost blade. If I had known that he wanted flame sword, not flame ore, the quest took up the rest of his life. I would have brought it to him. I would have let him upgrade, but I didn't know. I didn't know. So that man never felt fulfilled. The man drank down the crystals of life. How you drink crystals, by the way? It's like a crystal skull vodka or something. You drink what's inside. You don't drink the crystals. And instantly, his body was frozen like ice, and he no longer moved. Now, I learned that if you actually talk to him, he falls apart and he dies. So, if you want to do this quest the way I did it, don't talk to him. Just talk to the old man. To help him out of his predicament, the adventurers went to find a melt berry. But even if the frozen body is returned to normal, the man's memory would be lost forever. There would be no reward. Actually, that blizzard staff was a fantastic reward. The adventurers decided to pay the price and use the berry to unfreeze the man. And I think that was the right choice. The man remembered nothing of his past. But we gave him a second chance on life. We gave him a second lease. Sometime later, the man heard the story of the crystals of life and once again became captivated by their call. This man just doesn't want to die. I don't blame him. I don't want to die either. I don't want to die either. But he went back, and I guess somebody just fills the treasure chest. And so he turned his body to ice once more. Hey man, maybe that's enlightenment. Maybe he's reached nirvana. Did you think about that, game? Did you? I didn't think so. So he made his way back to that cave all by himself. He didn't need us. The princess of the dream world asked the adventurers not to tell others of her world's existence. This was the woman in the flower who had the shop, basically the end game super shop, which, by the way, really good shop. Like, the shop alone probably made that choice pretty easy. The adventurers pledged not only to keep the secret of the dream world, but also to protect it if you take the flower and to give it to the man in the village. Many people in the past have been invited to dream worlds, but every time they succumb to the beauty of the flower and pick it. So it's not the only dream world. Apparently there are lots of them. That's why the adventurers' answer surprised the princess. If you take the flower and give it to the man in town to get the steroid, plus 50 MP. That's all you get. Plus 50 max MP. Some years later, the petals of the flower ascended to heaven and forged a new world? Shit, this is like a universe inside of Orion's belt type of thing. In that new world, the adventurers were known as mythical legends. Again, we are heroes. That's just, that's par for the course. The JRPG, par for the course. We are legendary. Someone take a picture. The adventurers came across the lookout at the brink of destruction. Working with a soldier, they came up with a plan to wipe out the attacking monsters. I definitely could have done this one different, and I definitely should have done this one different. You actually can go upstairs and not downstairs. If you tell the guy no, you won't set off the dynamite. The adventurers volunteered to set off the dynamite in the basement of the lookout tower. Going upstairs is definitely way cooler than going downstairs. I haven't done it, but I read about it. Nothing could possibly have survived such a huge explosion. Everybody died. Our way, everybody died. If you go the other way, you can save one person. Just one. Although the attack was stopped, it was at a great cost. The town of Frostaven understood then what true tragedy is. I think it should be was, not is. Family, friends, lovers, if even one person had survived the attack, perhaps Frostaven's grief would not have been so deep. Oh man, I couldn't even save one guy. I couldn't even save one guy. I'm terrible. I know it. I'm terrible. If only a more controlled method had been used, perhaps at least one person could have been saved. I'm not a dynamite technician. I don't know how to make a more controlled explosion. But yeah, shouldn't have used the dynamite. Thanks to the rash actions of the adventurers, not a soul could be saved. Hey man, that wasn't my idea. That was the soldier's idea. It was a yes-no question. There wasn't a let's sit down and talk about it, come up with an alternative solution. Oh my gosh. Seeking the ultimate power, the adventurers joined forces with a soldier. They met at the Temple of Power. I kept calling it the Temple of Light for some reason. I don't know. In my mind, I built up this was like Cave of Light or something. By working together with the soldier, they were able to make their way through the temple. You actually cannot do it without him. And the soldier moved ahead to open up access to the treasure room, but got trapped on the final floor. We had a choice to choose him or the ultimate power. The adventurers were then presented with a choice, either ultimate power or take the life of their ally. Yeah, okay, so that's exactly what I just said. If you take the ultimate power, you get a sword that has 5 more attack power than the most powerful sword in the game, the sword. Basically making that the most powerful sword in the game. They chose their ally. The spirit of the temple, seeing this act of great kindness, bestowed true power onto the adventurers as a reward. We got an artifact that was basically the most powerful attack spell in the game. So you can either choose the most powerful sword in the game, or the most powerful attack spell in the game. Those are your choices. Perhaps it was their own inherent good. Perhaps it was faith their new ally had placed upon them. That's right, I don't like to betray people. We were betrayed. It doesn't feel good. Either way, the adventurers chose life in the end. Don't forget, if you've ever been betrayed or ever been hurt, don't forget, it doesn't feel good. It does not feel good. If your heart is filled with honest compassion, then shall turn to real power in time. That shall turn to real power in time. So there you go. Everyone was safe and got what they wanted. Isn't that a perfect story? I think so. I don't know what that other adventurer got. He just disappears. He's like, poof, I'm gone. Was I even ever really here? The jar and the goblins it once contained. Ah, the jar goblins. The adventurers failed to locate all the goblins. Hey, man. I tried. I got a lot. The ones that remained free began to take their revenge on the jars of the world. What? So they hate jars? No matter where they were hidden or what they were made from, every jar met a tragic end. Hey, that's what happens in all the Zelda universes. That's what happens in a lot of RPGs. Jars are meant to be broken. Some months later, with all pots smashed, the goblins turned their hatred towards the world beyond the skies. What? They're little demons? They can float into heaven and attack? Say what? The adventurers obtained the Key of Time from the Winged King, so that king is the Winged King, and slowly gathered information from the wise sages. Why couldn't we confront the Winged King? Why, game? Why? Terrible. Also, I see somebody's taking the treasure chests from this place. They learned of the poison from beyond the skies, and the artifacts too, which you never really learn about if you don't make the key choice, and instead you pick the artifacts or the airship. They learned of the Swamp King healing people using his poison. That's right, he's actually, he's helping people. And of the Winged King leading people using the artifacts. Their symbiotic existence plagued forever by war. That's right, this is cyclical. We got some kind of Dark Souls-esque thing going on. This isn't the end. All of this was surely devised by the power that transcends both kings. Was it not? So they're saying this is descended from deity. This, constant back and forth. But the problem we face is not the source of evil. The source of evil is from inside. The real problem is whether we can arrive at the answer that will break the cycle. The cycle of death and rebirth, basically. This world being poisoned, artifacts, poison, back and forth. If people do not realize that they have the opportunity to change their fate, the battle could go on into eternity. And perhaps it does. After a long and grueling quest, the adventurers finally defeated the Swamp King. Not by choice, I just wanted to talk to the guy. But our guys are so, racist against swamp people. With a sudden roar of sound, his castle began to collapse. Man, somebody had to build that place. That probably took a long time. Slowly, the adventurers began to lose consciousness. As bricks from the ceiling fall and smash their heads in, they slowly begin to lose consciousness. Light slowly enveloped their bodies. The memories of their quest still fresh in their mind. Well, we did just talk about it for the last 25 minutes, so there you go. As the light engulfed them, their bodies began to tear apart. Eventually turning to particles, they became a new energy source. Say what? We turned into artifacts. Then a light surrounded the world, and a great gray cloud began to shroud the earth. It's probably going to be like a reboot here of the whole cycle again. Warning of a new battle. That's right, the poison from the Swamp King doesn't disappear. It goes someplace else and it it congeals, and it makes a new cycle start again. The end. The end. Can you believe it? And that's it. We're back to the title screen. There is no New Game Plus. There is no second adventure. If you hit continue here, you can see 15 and a half hours. And you hit load and say what? we're right back where we were. So there you go. That's the end. Thank you so much for all the support for this series. It's finished. I'm not going to make any bonus episodes. We are going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff I missed, though. So if you don't want to stick around for that, feel free to like the video, subscribe, and head on out. If not, though, stick around because there's a couple things I want to discuss. Some stuff I missed and some stuff I want to give people warnings about that they could have missed very easily. So, like I said, thank you so much. Scroll down, description below. You'll find a link to where to buy this game. You'll find a link to the Patreon page that I have set up for myself if you want to support me. Here in Taiwan, every little bit goes a long way. Also, feel free to buy the game. It's definitely worth the asking price. And if you're lucky enough to get it on sale, you can pick it up too. So definitely worth it at full price. Steam sale's going on at the time I'm recording this. It's 10% off. And 10% is not a big deal though. It's only like maybe 70 cents off. So feel free to pick it up even if it's not on sale. Totally worth it. An amazing experience like no other. My closing thoughts on the game. Definitely high praise. The individual who made it really put a lot of love into this game. You can tell, not only just on the story, you know, a tale as old as time, as they say. A battle of good and evil where actually neither side is good. You know, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. And it really touched my heart playing it. Some of the events in the game really drew a strong emotional response from me. Really strong emotional response. The quest, particularly with the woman and her child, I had to stop playing after that. I had to take a break. And that doesn't happen very often in games for me. I'm usually a pretty iron-willed player. Now, I will tell you, I'm a big old soft marshmallow. There you go. I'm a big old soft mushroom. I'm a big old soft marshmallow when it comes to some events in like life. I see a story on the news of somebody, you know, losing their child or something. It tears me up. But I'm usually pretty steadfast and strong when it comes to games. But this one really kind of, it drew something out of me. And that's rare. The game itself technically is fine. It runs well. There is a little bit of slowdown and stutter. It is an RPG Maker game, although the engine has been so heavily modified, or at least I shouldn't say the engine. The pieces of the game are so heavily modified from the RPG Maker default set that it's kind of hard to tell, except for the fact that the game runs in a tiny little window, you know, and it has a little bit of frame stutter. It doesn't always go 60 FPS the whole way through. But overall, technically, it's great. I'm going to say, you know, no major complaints. You know, 8 out of 8. It's great, mate. You know, that kind of stuff. Story's good. There were a couple decisions I didn't like. As I already talked about the woman. The man that runs the place, the boss that runs the kidnapper's hideout, there's no way, as far as I can tell, to actually like defeat him and stop that gang from doing what they're doing. And that drives me nuts because I'm supposed to be the heroes of light, and I want to bring justice to the world. I want to bring justice to that guy. Screw him. Overall, the sound, it's not super memorable, but it doesn't get in the way. It's a good, solid sound choice to not make the game's audio too overpowering. It does have a retro feel. It feels at home in this game. Nothing amazing. Not going to download the soundtrack or rip the tunes from the game and put it on my Zune, my Microsoft Zune. I don't actually have a Zune. I used to use the Zune software. Anyway, not important. Overall, happy with it. Story's good. Game's good. Gameplay is good. It feels like the open world is really handled well. You don't need the ship to get around, which is nice. You don't really need anything to get around because even though the world feels so large, especially when I'm watching videos like Mr. Gazillion, who, by the way, if you like this game, check out his content too because he's also doing a playthrough. And he's made a lot of choices different than I have. And it's always interesting to go and see what happens when you make a different choice. Speaking of choices, some of the choices are really odd. And I would like to see, of course, there's not going to be a content patch or something like that, but I wish it was a little bit more clear. Example, in the village with the fish people, we got the ending where the island rose from the sea and chaos was brought into the world. Whatever that means. The world became more chaotic. It's already pretty chaotic, my friend. Try living in a major city. But what actually, going back and reading a little bit of other people's experience, you're supposed to say, no, you don't want to help the village. And then he'll be like, are you sure? You probably should. And then you say yes, and all of a sudden you can progress in that quest. If you just come right out and say, yes, I want to help the village, you can't. You get blocked out. And that kind of feels like a bad... I'm not sure if that's a translation issue or if that's merely like a hidden quest that you have to say no to say yes. I don't like that. And the game also suffers from some double negatives. You don't want to let the kid die, don't not you? Yes or no? Let me get out my English book. I'm an English teacher, and I have to read through some of those sentences 3 or 4 times to know what they're actually trying to convey. And that can be a translation issue. That can also be something that makes you choose the wrong choice that you don't actually mean. And I like to see those avoided in dialogue boxes in video games. You know, you play The Witcher, and they're like, you don't not want to kill me, do you, son? And your answer's like, yes or no. And then you don't know what's going to happen if you hit yes. You don't know what's going to happen if you know. That kind of can be fixed. That can be a simple translation adjustment or a text box that's edited a little bit. Or even choices that don't say yes and no. They say like attack or don't. Attack or fall back. You know, that kind of stuff. There were some quests that I completely missed. There's one with a volcano. I used the drill with the wrong guy. Didn't even get to see. There's a whole other village over there with like 3 or 4 extra quests that you can completely mess up, of course, and never get into the volcano, which I didn't even get to see in my playthrough. So I'm a little bummed about that. It would have been nice to know you're using the drill when you say yes to somebody. They're like, yes, bracket, use drill, close bracket, no, bracket, keep drill, close. You know, it would be easy to do. It's a shame that that stuff will probably never get changed. Because this game, I mean, it's a relatively old game comparatively to its American release. It's been out in Japan for a while, so probably not going to see any content changes. All that being said, feel free to disagree. But in my opinion, this was a very solid game. And if we're going to go give it ratings, I'm going to rate it a $20 game. It only costs $7. So you'd be an idiot not to buy it. Although, you know, obviously, it might not be your cup of tea. I'd say it's a great game, though, for if you're looking like at retro NES era RPGs. I play a lot of portable games, Vita games, and 3DS games. And I always love to see these classic RPGs. And now, this is a computer game, obviously, and it's not a portable console. It would be at home on something like the Vita or the 3DS. It'd fit perfect. So, overall, love the game. Feel free to let me know what you thought about the game, your opinion on it. And this has been almost an hour-long talking session. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. Thank you so much again for watching. Feel free to like the video. Feel free to subscribe for more stuff similar to this, but also different games and stuff like that too. I like to keep it mixed up. And feel free to check out and support a developer that's making a game you like. You really need to, and I hate to be the one to tell you this, I'm not your mom, or in this case your dad, but if there's something you like and you don't support it, it goes away. If you get a game like this and you say, oh, that's a really great game, but I'm not willing to put down, you know, $5 or $6 to say it's a great game, people are going to stop making games like this. And in this day and age, it's hard to find a good, heartfelt adventure like this that's not overly generic or just a cash grab. I think this is worth your money. That's my 2 cents. And I put my money where my mouth is. And I bought it. And I think you should too. But if not, hopefully you enjoyed the walkthrough or the playthrough or the let's play or whatever you'd like to call it. And until next time, friends, do me a favor. And do yourself a favor too. And do a favor for everybody around you. Stay classy. And I'll see you next time.